Hello friends, welcome to Insights ICANN Initiative. In today's video, we are going to cover following these 5 topics. Before we discuss about all these topics, first let us see the theme of the day. Today's theme of the day is government schemes. When you are looking at any government scheme, we have to check information such as what is the nodal ministry related to that particular scheme, what is the objective behind the scheme, and who are the beneficiaries of the scheme. So we have to concentrate on these areas. Okay. Now let us see one MCQ related to this. The Atal Innovation Mission is being set up under which department? This question is mainly towards the category of nodal ministry. Department of Science and Technology, Ministry of Labour and Employment, Niti Aayog, and Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. It comes under Niti Aayog. So when you are looking at any particular schemes, you have to check these particular areas. Now let us see these 5 topics of today's video. First one is Surrogacy Regulation Rules 2022. It is related to GS2 governance, and the rest of the topics we will discuss in detail after this first topic. First let us see Surrogacy Regulation Rules. Normally surrogacy means what? You have to understand, when a mother is unable to have pregnancy, she will take help of another woman, that is known as surrogacy. Okay, in surrogacy, both intended parents, that means both male and wife and husband, they can contribute their gametes. Those gametes will be fertilized, then that zygote will be placed under, okay, that zygote will be placed under the other woman uterus. In the another woman uterus, that zygote which develops into further embryo, and that another woman, that is known as surrogate woman. The surrogate woman gives birth to these intended parents, that is normally surrogacy. Recently Government of India issued certain rules that in surrogacy, child should genetically related to intended parents. That means intended parents, both husband and wife, they should give gametes. Okay, wife should give eggs and husband should give the sperms. And this gametes, this egg cannot be from the surrogate mother. That is what government changed the rules. Okay, both egg as well as the sperm should be from intended parents. That means child should be genetically related to mother and father. But recently a woman, she filed a case. That case is, she was suffering from one particular disease and she opted for surrogacy. In that surrogacy, surrogate mother, she will contribute the egg, and her husband sperms, okay, those will be fertilized, and embryo, from that embryo, that baby obviously will grow in the uterus of the surrogate mother. So here the intended mother, she was unable to give the egg, but according to the modified rules, this cannot be possible. So she challenged this modified rule in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court clearly mentioned, Supreme Court supported the women that women have all the right regarding the parenthood. In this particular condition, woman is unable to have the egg. So surrogate mother can contribute the egg, and still the child is genetically related to father, because sperm is coming from the father. So genetical relation, it is not essentially related to both intended couples. It can be possible to either father or mother as well. So this is what Supreme Court observed regarding the surrogacy regulation bill. Okay, in India commercial surrogacy is banned, you know that, and the surrogate mother should be within the age of 25 to 35 years of age, and there are certain other age restrictions for the both intended father and intended mother as well. If they are already having healthy child, they cannot go for the surrogacy. Okay, now let's see. Supreme Court intervened to protect the women rights of the parenthood who suffer from rare medical condition, and surrogacy is a reproductive practice through which a woman agrees, that means surrogate woman, she agrees to carry and give birth to child for another couple. They are known as intended couple. The Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021, it prohibits the commercial surrogacy, and this act came into effect in 2022. Background of the case, already I explained the background of the case. Next, what Supreme Court mentioned? Supreme Court mentioned that in this particular case, woman unable to give eggs because she is suffering from a rare disease. So from that intended couple, only sperms can be contributed from the father, and the egg can be contributed either from the surrogate mother or from the egg donor. That can be okay. So the child at least can be genetically related to the father. Here the woman suffering from Mayer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome. In this syndrome, women cannot produce eggs because like underdeveloped ovaries as well as the underdeveloped uterus. So this is the rare medical condition, and Supreme Court supported the women reproductive rights. This is the topic number 1. Next, second topics, Criminal Procedure Identification Act. So Criminal Procedure Identification Act, it has to be implemented, and this Criminal Procedure Identification Act, it is yet to be implemented fully as a nodal agency. NCRB is still preparing the guidelines and it started operating procedure to implement the legislation. Okay, this act was made, but you know that before we implement the act, detailed SOPs have to be prepared. So SOPs are nothing but how to implement that particular act. Here, this Criminal Identification Act or Criminal Procedure Identification Act, it is going to be implemented by NCRB. Now, why it is in news? It is in news because it has yet to be implemented and it is proposing SOPs. Regarding this Criminal Procedure Identification Act, it enables the police as well as the central agencies, they can collect such various information, such as they can collect, store and analyze the physical as well as the biological samples. It includes the retina and iris information of arrested person. So this act replacing which act? This act is replaced the British era Identification of the Prisoners Act in 1920. Okay, this act limited only collecting and recording of the finger impression and certain other impression. That means compared to the old act, in the new act we can collect more information so that we can easily identify the criminals. We can use that information, but on one condition, whatever the information the authorities are collecting, that information must be secured in a safe manner. Okay, then only right to privacy will not be violated. Tell me students, in which judgment Supreme Court recognized right to privacy as one of the fundamental rights? This new act made provisions for the use of modern technique to capture, record and appropriate body measures as well. Okay, so it gives more powers to the investigating agencies in terms of collecting the information. The nodal agency is NCRB under the Union Ministry of Home Affairs. It works under Union Ministry of Home Affairs, and it was given the task of storing, processing and sharing and destroying of the records of whatever the measurements, whatever the samples they took from the arrested persons. Here, impressions taken by any police station, they will be stored in a common database maintained by the NCRB for certain period of time. After then, if the person proven to be acquitted, if the person is not guilty, then that information will be erased. Okay. Challenges, like I said earlier, so it violates the fundamental rights including the right to privacy, and still awareness has to be improved in the authority agencies, and shortage of devices in collection of the data, collection of the DNA samples. This has to actually, it has to go along with the improved facility in terms of the forensics as well. We have to improve the forensics. Third one, minimum export price for onion. Minimum export price. Recently, actually this export price is related to exports of onions. And you know the students, the state of Maharashtra is the largest producer in terms of onions. And Indian onions are high in demand due to their pungency and due to their quality. Recently, government issued a notification and it said the minimum export price for onion at $800 per metric ton, $800 per metric ton. If this price is giving, then only onion exports can be allowed. Otherwise, exports cannot be allowed. Generally, this minimum export price will be increased when government wanted to decrease exports as well as increase the domestic supply. So it is to discourage the exports when government increases the export price. This minimum export price, the price below which exports are not allowed to. So exports are not allowed in terms of onion. Even exporters also not allowed to export this. It is imposed in view, like I said earlier, to cater the rising demands within India, so that they increased the export price, so that less exports will be there and more amount of the onions can be available in the domestic side of the economy. It is a kind of quantitative restriction to trade. Actually, in this aspect, majority of the time farmers are suffering, especially when this kind of actions are being taken. Government fixes minimum export price for the selected commodities with a view to arrest domestic price rise. When domestic price rise increases, why domestic prices will be increased, especially due to shortage of supply. So that can be balanced by reducing the exports. Okay, this removal of minimum export price helps the farmers to realize better and remunerative price. So if you keep on imposing the minimum export price, that is also act as a restriction on the farmers. They are unable to export their onions. This minimum export price for the first time implemented on basmati rice in financial year 2011. Okay, to stop or to discourage the export of rice. Legal backing. Which act is supporting this? Section 5 of the Foreign Trade Development and Regulation Act 1992. This particular act, this particular section allows the government to impose the minimum export price. The minimum support price, you know that it is very popular. Minimum support price is all about, it is the minimum support where government will procure certain food grains, certain crops from farmers, especially when farmers are unable to get a minimum price in their market. It is like a protection mechanism offering to farmers to protect the farmers from price variation, price changes. Onions in India. India is the second largest onion growing country, and Indian onions are very famous for their pungency, and they are available throughout the year. And onions are mainly associated with Rabi season, Rabi crop. States which are very popularly associated with onion production: Maharashtra, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, Haryana and Telangana. Maharashtra ranks first in terms of onion production. Whenever there is untimely rains, obviously that affects the output in Maharashtra, that resulted to overall decreasing supply in onions with respect to entire nation. Rising onion price, it is mainly due to the less supply, like we discussed. Of course, increased onion prices also contributes to food inflation as well. Fourth one, UNGA adopts GAZA resolution. United Nations General Assembly, they passed a resolution that immediate humanitarian truce between the Israel and Hamas and demanding the aid access to Gaza. Okay, UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, they passed a resolution that there must be one truce. Okay, there must be a peaceful agreement must be achieved between the Israel and Hamas, and Israel should allow the humanitarian access to Gaza. Now the humanitarian access to Gaza is restricted by the Israel. Even though Israel is saying that they are not restricting anything, but still there are certain restrictions are there. So with respect to Gaza in terms of receiving the humanitarian aid. Then the interesting thing is India abstained from voting. That means India either supported or opposed this voting. That's a very interesting thing. UN General Assembly. UNO is established in 1945 under the Charter of United Nations, and UN headquarters is present in New York City. UNO, it used to have 6 main organs. Out of the Trusteeship Council, it is not functioning very much. Its objective is irrelevant now. That is the reason active organs of UNO are only 5. Out of that, 4 are operating from New York, and one is, that is, International Court of Justice operating from The Hague, Netherlands. UNGA resolutions, they are not binding in nature. UNGA decisions, basically these decisions can be arrived through voting in UN General Assembly. It is a symbol of opinion of UNO. So here majority of the nation agreed for a truce between the Israel and Hamas. India took a balanced approach, the same kind of approach adopted by India with respect to Russia and Ukraine crisis as well. Fifth one, thallium poisoning. Cases of thallium poisoning have been rising in India, particularly in the Maharashtra. Thallium is a radioactive element, and it is particularly very dangerous. So now government authorities have to find what are the reasons for this particular poisoning. Thallium. Thallium is a toxic metal element. It represents with Ti with atomic number 81. It is known for its extreme toxicity. It does not freely occur in nature. It is generally not having color, odor and taste. Its use is regulated in India. There are widely allegations that in the death of Saddam Hussein, this thallium played very important role. He was being poisoned by thallium for a very long time. Thallium is also known as poisonous poison, common use, historically used in low temperature thermometer, and radioactive isotopes which are used in the medical imaging and limited industrial applications. It is very extremely toxic, like that is the reason we are calling it as a poison of poisons. It is known for its high toxicity, historically used as rat poison. It also played a role in Saddam Hussein death. So these are the 5 topics of today's video. Let us see yesterday's MCQs. Consider the following statement regarding the Tribal Cooperative Marketing Development Federation, TriFeds. Regarding the TriFeds, which of the following statements are correct? Both the statement, it comes under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, right? It is the implementing agency of the minimum support price scheme for the minor forest produce. This statement is also right. Next, Edakkal cave recently seen in news. It is located in Edakkal, Kerala. Okay. Next, consider the following statement regarding the paintbrush swift butterfly. So regarding this, it is endemic to Eastern Ghats region. Not exactly. It is protected under Schedule 4 of the Wildlife Protection Act. Of course, it is protected, but it is not endemic to Eastern Ghats. It is present in other areas as well. Saras Ajivaka Mela, recently seen in the news. It is an initiative of, again, nodal ministry they are asking, Ministry of Rural Development. In the beginning of today's video, I given the similar kind of example. Which one of the following cities is located in the banks of Musi River? Hyderabad. Now we'll see today's video question. Today's video question, among the following, which one is the largest exporter of rice in the world in last 5 years? In last 5 years, which one is the largest exporter of rice? Pick the right answer. Mains question, critically examine the Criminal Procedure Identification Act. Do the provision seems disproportionate with the act's objective? Okay, so you have to know what are the act's objective and why they consider as disproportionate. You have to know. This is the Mains question. Now, as we reach to the end of this video, let us see very quickly which topics we discussed in this video. In this particular video, we try to understand these 5 topics, and this is the detailed analysis regarding the today's current issues. Thank you.